The black market system is something that is commonly used amongst those who are desperately waiting to receive an organ from UNOS as they wait on the transplant list. There are two sides to this system, but both sides aim to do one basic thing: survive.
We have some people who desperately need kidneys. We have other people who desperately need money. As soon as it was discovered that they were meeting each other and exchanging, making this mutually beneficial exchange, the medical profession and the politicians rushed in to stop it. Now, the question is why they rushed in to stop it altogether rather than saying, let's subject it to the regulations which govern ordinary giving of organs.
Legalizing organ black markets, as discussed in the news clip, would be beneficial in a variety of ways. It would help eliminate abuses and help provide adequate supplies of transplant organs to people who need them. It would also help the length of the wait list. It could shrink or even help them disappear. It would also stimulate the economy by providing new jobs like agents to find those who need organs and people who are willing to sell their organs. A legalized market would mean it would be regulated and could be taxed, which would further stimulate the economy. This could also provide some income for poor people, which would help them repay their debts and stop selling drugs if they do. Legalization could also address the issue of disparity that is happening.
This is Selena. 4 members of her family have sold a kidney. She says she and her families are outcasts now, shunned by their own community for what they did. And it goes way past the social suffering. The store owner's health has been deteriorating since his surgery.
As shown, being involved in the black market for organs has its consequences. There are cases where the donor is aware of the risk and eager to reap the benefits, but there are also cases where people are kidnapped in order to harvest their organs for money. Thus, there is a fine line drawn for those who are willing to give up their organ to help someone else and others who are in it for themselves. Due to the poor conditions where procedures are done, there is a high possibility for complications in the surgery and in the recovery for the donor. Although, of course, there are apparent benefits, the consequences are much more severe. Listed here are the prices and costs of kidneys and their value in each country's black market.
The vast majority of organs used for transplantation in China have come from executed prisoners. So these are people who are not selling their kidneys, but people who are taken and executed, and their organs used for transplantation, usually without consent and without the family's knowledge, without anybody's knowledge.
The United States' current organ market is an opt-in donation system that is controlled through a non-profit organization known as UNOS. A number of European countries have an opt-out system, which indicates that the government has full legal ownership of one's organs once they are deceased, unless the person has previously refused their organs to be donated. However, the United States has a strong foundation based off freedom and liberty. To assume that the federal government has legal ownership of a citizen's organs contradicts the very foundation that this country has built itself off of.
It's a simple fact. The demand for transplant organs exceeds the supply, so it's important to ensure the best use of these invaluable gifts.
This is wrong.
You've waited 1.5 years to get this thing. Who knows when the next one is going to come along?
Murnahan, the Philadelphia girl who waited nearly 2 years for a lung transplant.
As you have just seen from various clips, organs are a rarity. But just how rare? About 144 people are put on the list each day, while only 79 people receive transplants and the rest stay on the waiting list. Around 18 people on that list die each day waiting for an organ. But why is this the case? Why does the supply of organs not meet its demand? The truth is that there are actually 2 waiting lists, one that is active and one that is not. The reasoning for being put on an inactive waiting list varies and is up to the hospital, not UNOS. Many patients are not even informed of such a change. This is not publicized either, making the reality for the need of organs much greater than statistics suggest. This is also making the wait for organs much longer. What do you think about the current organ system in the United States?
I think that there are a lot of faults to it, such as the waiting lists and whatnot. I also think that a person should automatically be registered as an organ donor because, like, you could save a life.
I think the organ transplant system, as of the list, works out pretty well because the process is very quick. So once you get the call, it's the next day almost where you get the new organ, and I think the quicker the better.
What are your thoughts on the black market organ system going on in some countries?
I think it's kind of ridiculous. I don't think you should be paying for organs as it is. I mean, it should just be a thing you get. And I also think the conditions in which they receive them are really bad, so they end up not being really effective.
I've heard of people donating their organs for money, and I understand that if you really need it, by all means, but I'm all against people kidnapping children just for their organs.
Our proposed system is similar to the current system the U.S. participates in today. However, we suggest an opt-out instead of an opt-in regarding sign-ups for donors. This would be a legal and safe way of increasing the supply and hopefully to potentially meet the need of organ transplants in the future. In this system, the recipient of the organ would be unknown to UNOS, except for some key factors. What do you think of the ideal market system we are proposing?
I think that's what it should be. I think you should be able to opt out if you need to, but I don't really see why you would want to opt out when you're trying to save a life. And I also think that the way it's proposed with that it's not based on like ethnicity or age or something like that. It's based on like your blood type.
I like the idea of that system, but for people, maybe like religious views might conflict with that. So as long as they know that they're organ donors and have the option at an early age, then yes, I agree with the system.
If I donate my organs, my death can mean something.